Welcome to another episode of The Bug Bite, hosted by yours truly, Tech Coach Ralph, where we're engineered to win. In today's episode of The Bug Bite, we are going to be continuing talking about CrowdStrike, but this time we're going to be taking it from a Microsoft perspective. Microsoft is allegedly blaming European laws for the cause of this major outage. So that's what we want to talk about today. Let's jump into it. Let's see what Microsoft is saying. Why do they blame the European laws on the cause of this outage? But before we do that, do me a big favor. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Go to www.techcoachralph.dev if you need one-on-one coaching as well as access to exclusive content. So let's get into this. Let's get into this article. All right, so this article is brought to us by Extreme Tech, and it is called Microsoft Blames EU Rules for CrowdStrike Fiasco. The company agreed to give third-party software kernels access to Windows in 2009. Now it's bidden the company in the you-know-what. This was written by Josh Norum. So let's get into it. So, as the damage from the CrowdStrike disaster begins to dissipate across the globe, questions are now being asked about what type of situation was possible in the first place, or how this type of situation was possible in the first place. The biggest question was how a third-party update could crash millions of Windows PCs with Microsoft powerless to do anything about it. As it turns out, back in 2009, the company agreed to give third-party security software kernel level access to its operating system, which it is now saying it is not the root cause of the issue, but that it could happen again. So the new round of finger pointing from Microsoft was delivered via a Wall Street Journal article where Microsoft was asked if it can't wall off its kernel like Apple does. In 2020, Apple removed kernel-level access from third parties, requiring all of them to rewrite their software to function correctly on macOS. Microsoft told the journal that it couldn't do that because in 2009, it reached an agreement with the European Commission to grant third parties the same level of access as Microsoft's own apps, which means all the way down to the kernel. So I'm curious to why is it that Microsoft has to do this, but it seems like Apple isn't restricted to? Maybe it's because Microsoft reached this agreement and Apple did not. But another question is, why does the European Commission want all software providers to be able to reach this kernel access? And how come they're not requiring Apple to do it? So that's one question that I'm wondering right now, right? So let's keep going. In the Paywall Journal article, a Microsoft rep says it can't legally cut off access to the kernel of its OS due to this agreement. According to The Guardian, the deal stems from the antitrust case against Microsoft circa 2004, which forced the company to open up its agreement between its software and third parties, and its third party to be more interoperable. The situation culminated in the 2009 agreement. So that's the reason, because of those dastardly antitrust agreements or those antitrust lawsuits trying to break up the company. So therefore, Microsoft said, all right, fine. We're going to give them access, but whatever happens, it's not on us. This is on you. This is what you wanted. You're going to have to take responsibility for it. Or maybe they didn't say that exactly, but that's kind of like they're trying to say right now, I told you so. So though there are comparisons here between Apple and Microsoft, it's not apples to apples, pardon the pun, given the size of Windows market compared with macOS. Almost all the world's computers run on Windows, which has a vast third-party software ecosystem, not to mention all the various types of hardware that must interact with the software. StatCounter says Windows controls almost 74% of the global OS market share, with the Mac OS holding about 13%. That makes it much easier for Apple to be strict with its rules about kernel access, which is quite difficult for a company the size of Microsoft. Whether the EU agreement gets revised in the wake of the CrowdStrike situation remains to be seen, but giving security software low-level access to be able to update rapidly does make sense. The Register reports it has asked Microsoft whether it will reconsider its agreement with the EC in light of last week's disaster, but it has yet to receive a response. So that's the article, right? I'm really, it's very interesting what they're saying, and I think in the article from last week, I was wondering, because people were already trying to blame Microsoft, saying, Microsoft is too big, like they have too much power, they need to be breaking up. And I'm like, well, at the end of the day, if private entities choose to use Microsoft, and then we're also forcing Microsoft to give these companies this type of access, it is highly likely that these companies can, by mistake, or maybe on purpose, who knows, or even nefarious actors to go in and overwrite some important files at the kernel access, and then there is a ton of disaster. Now, it's different because if you infect one computer, or if it happens on one computer, then that's just one computer that's isolated. But if a company is pushing a huge major update, and then that has access to the kernel, then it can be pretty bad. It can be pretty bad. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts? Do you think that Microsoft has a case here, or are they just passing blame over to somebody else, and that they should be responsible for what other companies, what other third parties do within their system? That's a good question. So what do you think? I am curious to know. Let's go back to full screen now. Yeah, so let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on this whole idea that Microsoft is blaming the European laws, the agreement that they reached with the European Commission in 2009, because they were faced with antitrust lawsuits and things like that in 2004. So do you think they have a point? Should they be giving this type of access to these companies? If they do, does that limit the amount of software that can be created for Microsoft? Another question is, would you be okay with Microsoft saying, all right, these updates can be installed, but they can't be run automatically. It has to be a user-initiated action, so that if something happens, it can be not as severe as what happened with the CrowdStrike incident a few weeks ago. I don't know. It's very curious to see. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think, and we can go from there, right? Anyways, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been another episode of The Bug Bite, hosted by your truly tech coach, Ralph, where we're introduced to win. Do me a big favor on your way out. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know every time we go live and or drop new content, as well as go to techcoachrob.dev, sign up for one-on-one coaching with me. I will help you win. I will help you run it up. And you can also get access to exclusive content that you will not find here on YouTube. If you do find it on YouTube, trust me, it sucks, all right? It sucks, all right? So come and hang out with me. We will win together, all right? With that being said, I am going to get out of here. This is Tech Coach Ralph. We are out. Have a wonderful weekend.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.